So I just want to tell everybody welcome to Podcast of the Wicked. I am Bill,
And I'm Metal Rose.
and we have a very special guest today. Former lead singer of Iced Earth and currently in Jacob's Well, the one and the only Gene Adam. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you guys tonight?
We're good.
Doing
Good.
great.
Good. I can tell you it's a lot warmer here, so wherever you're at.
Yeah, I bet it is warmer there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's going to be about like 2 degrees, I think, on Monday over here
Oh
at
my
night.
gosh. I
Yeah,
like your shirt, Rose. That's awesome.
got it from the
Very
site.
cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I've got one of those too. I actually got the you know when they he re-released the first album there
Right.
with the new artwork. I actually got the long sleeve shirt of that, which is really cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, he gave me, man, when we got back together our reunited our friendship and all that stuff, I got so much Iced Earth merchandise now. It's crazy. He was just so like just giving and grateful. He just gave me like so much stuff. It was so cool. Like, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I've got those hanging on my wall in here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's just crazy, like not seeing each other for 30 years, and then like now when we talk on the phone, it's like we never been apart. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's. I mean, all right, yeah,
yeah.
That's cool.
Like I always say, man, you know, God works in awesome ways. He does.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because John was like really like when we started hanging out again together. You know, I'm a born again believer now and stuff, and I was going to church and stuff, and I think he was kind of like at first he was a little like I don't want to say freaked out about it or whatever, but he just was like, you know, okay, that's weird. You're like, you know, used to be like this party dude and crazy wild animal, and now here you are like this Christian guy. But we really started talking about it and stuff, and you know, he actually started going to my church with me when he was here in Florida. He would come to church and stuff, and all that stuff. He's really had an awakening, you know, in his faith and stuff like that, and it was pretty cool to see, you know, like. Yeah, when he was here in Florida before he went back up to Indiana, he was living in Lakeland, which it's about 45 minutes away from where I live. And he would come over and hang out. We'd stay over on Saturday night. We go to church together, and we just sit out on my back lanai and just talk all night long, man. It was really cool. Nice. It was a good time, really man. Great.
I heard you were largely responsible for him checking out like the different, like the churches and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to take responsibility for it. You know, it's God, it's not me. But definitely it was a conversation. He had a lot of questions because he grew up in like a Catholic, or not Catholic, I think it was Lutheran. He grew up in a Christian school.
Yeah.
And I guess he had a lot of questions, and I guess they didn't like his questions, and you know, nobody wanted to answer his question. He felt like a lot of church hurt, I guess, a lot of, you know, hurt, and a lot of things he couldn't understand about the Christian faith and stuff like that. And I don't know where you guys are in your faith or whatever, but like, you know, about Jesus and like being the only way and all. He'd be like, how can there only be one way? And I'm like, John, just be glad there is a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are we arguing about there only being one way? There is a way. Let's not, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the big conversation we had, you know, because he's been all over the world and he's met people with all different religions, and he couldn't understand why, you know, well, just because they don't believe the way you do, you know, that doesn't mean, you know, they're going to go to heaven or what. I'm like, John, none of us deserve it to go to heaven, you know, but God has made this way, and that's the way, you know. It's so, but I don't want to get into a big religious conversation.
I was going to ask you, I mean, if it's too much, I don't have to ask the question, but I was going to ask you what initially like brought you over to Christianity. I'm a Christian, but I'm kind of, I'm in between Catholic and Christianity. I've gone to some born again Christian churches as well. I'm a believer. I'm definitely a believer.
Well, good. What happened to me is a crazy story. I mean, you can go on YouTube. There's like a whole, I share my, so I work with the youth group at our church, like like with the teenagers and stuff. And they did this thing called I Am Second. and they were like these video series where you told your testimony or whatever. So it's on YouTube, but basically this is what happened. So when I left Ice Earth and all that stuff, about 2 years later, I got married. And then me and my wife, we were just living life or whatever. We weren't really following any kind of religion or anything. And then when we were going to have kids, we wanted our kids to like have some kind of faith, or at least felt it was important. So we started going to church, and I was raised Jewish, so I didn't believe in Jesus at all. I thought it was just something the Christians had made up just to persecute the Jews.
Yeah.
That's what I was taught, from my youth. And so, the whole New Testament was just made up, and so I was okay with going to church, but I just went just to go for my kids. And then I didn't know that my wife, she had joined this Bible study with the ladies there, and they were praying for me all the time to come to faith. And we went to this one church, and I really liked the pastor there. And it was something about him, something I saw in him that seemed so genuine. And I just started asking questions about it. And then I started writing songs, like all these songs. And these songs would just like come to me, like I'd be like in tears. And it was before cell phones were really popular. I mean, we had cell phones, but they weren't like they are now. And so in order not to forget the melody, I would call the answering machine at home and tell my wife not to pick it up, and I would just sing in the answering machine.
Oh, wow, that's
and so I would have it recorded, and she goes, these songs that you're singing, these are like Christian songs. I'm like, no, they're not. They're just, positive songs. And sure enough, like I was writing these Christian songs, and then one night I started going to church a lot, and I was laying in bed, and I had this vision of like, it was so realistic. You want me to tell the whole story? It's kind of deep, and I might like tear up.
Great.
So I'm laying there in bed, and I have this vision, and it's me, and I'm in one of my like old apartments with this girl, and we're like partying or whatever, and she has like on a crucifix, like with Jesus on it, and I kind of grabbed it, and I said, "What is that?" And then at that moment, there was Jesus on the cross, and it was like it was real. Like he was there in the bedroom on the cross, like in my dream. And it was so vivid and real. I just like woke up. I like freaked out, man. I went in the bathroom, like cold sweat kind of dream.
Wow.
Then a couple of weeks later, I was in bed again, and I had this dream, and I was running from somebody, and I was like hiding in this like drain pipe or somewhere from someone that was chasing me. And the voice just said to me, you can't hide. You got to surrender. And I surrendered my life to Christ.
Wow.
Awesome, brother.
Incredible.
To talk about without crying, because it's so just when something really happens to you, it's like it's real. You know what I mean? It's like like we always talk about at church, like if you grow up in faith, that's great that you have this faith your whole life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's those stories like the Apostle Paul, where like things happen, like, and that's what it was for me. It was very like that, like dramatic, like, because I was so against it my whole life, and then it wasn't something I just, like everybody says, accepted. It was like it was like, you're with me now, dude. You're coming with me. He came and got me. You know what I mean? And that's where I am now. And I
incredible.
It's pretty. I was 40 years old when I came to faith in Christ. So
hey,
that's beautiful.
That's awesome, brother.
I feel like people get the wrong idea about Christianity. Like you have to like, live this, boring life or whatever. But I still have fun. I still do things. It's all about moderation and not like becoming an idol in your life. Like people that get hooked on different things. You got to live life, and just enjoy everything that God gives you. But not in moderation, in moderation, and not become,
Yeah.
an addict, or it becomes an idol in your life or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like you guys. I mean, even with Jacob's Well, you played some breweries and everything. So you must
That's all we play at. I mean, we do play at our church sometimes. We have played at church events and stuff like that. So what we do is we just like take like cover tunes that we like 80s, 90s, 2000s cover tunes, and kind of make them like folky kind of bluegrass stuff. But then we have all our originals too. And all our originals, they're not like songs you would play at church. They're not like worship songs. They're like stories about our faith journey and stuff. Bill knows because he's heard a lot of our music and stuff. They're just folk songs. They're just like rocky kind of folk, Appalachian kind of folk songs, but some of them even have like Bible verses in them, but you wouldn't know to listen to it to think it was a Christian song. You would just think it's a song about.
I have that Mountain Air EP. I have to get the next one and some of the other ones, but it's great music. It's incredible.
Yeah, you got to get the new one. We have two really good albums. Our album, The Climb, which came out in 2019, really good album. And then our new one, Harvest Wind, is really awesome too. When you were talking about the Mountain Air, that's just like an EP. That's like a 3-song thing. Yeah. We did that because we were going to North Carolina and we wanted to have like a little something to give out for free when we play. So we did the little EP. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Our new stuff.
I'm gonna get the new one. I'm going to.
Yeah, and the Climb is really good too. And we have 3 full-length albums. We have Bitter Days, which was from 2018 or 2019. And then we have The Climb, and then now we have Harvest Wind. Those are our 3 full albums.
Excellent.
Yeah. And they're faith-based, I would say, If you're a Christian, it's Christian music, but if you're not a Christian, you might not even know. It's like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But here's the thing about Jacob's Well, though, that I've noticed, and you don't have to be a Christian to enjoy it. That's the thing.
That was the whole point we wanted to do. We wanted to play music that everybody can enjoy. That it's not just Christian music, because when you play Christian music, then you've cut yourself in this box, like you're Christian music now, and we want to play all kinds of music. We would never play anything that was satanic or anything, but we want to play all types of music, and we want we want everyone to enjoy it. We don't want to single out one group of people, so I think that's always been our goal, is to make music that everybody can enjoy.
You guys seem to really be very diverse. My bass player's always anytime he gets a chance to, he watches your live streams. Dave Players, give him a shout out the other day, and he's a non-believer, but he loves your stuff. So
all right, our music is so crazy because we'll have alternative sounding songs and some bluegrass sounding stuff, and there's no genre for Jacob's Well. We're just everything, whatever. We'll write a song however it comes out, that's what it is, and we don't stick to certain genre of music. On the Climb album, there's some songs on there that are straight up alternative rock. And then there's some that are like that Mountain Air, that's very Appalachian kind of music. It's just just how we roll. They call us the alternative in North Carolina.
There you go. Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But and just to kind of say this, because even though I don't say it a whole lot, because I don't kind of toot my own horn kind of thing, but I'm still amazed at the 2 songs that I sent you guys, how y'all just transformed them into what they are. You know what I'm saying? It's it was
Does
just.
Rose know about that? I don't know if you know about that.
You told me a couple of weeks ago. You told me about that.
So
I was really impressed.
Me and Bill have always gone back and forth, on Messenger. We've been friends a long time, and he'll send me some lyrics when he thinks it's something that would be a good song. And he sent me the first song he sent me was I always forget the name of it, Bill. What is it? The one? Where I'm going. What is it?
It's through all. It was don't
Through
know
all
where I'm
these
going
tears.
from here.
Yes, through all
Yeah.
these tears. I always
Yep.
forget the title, but it's on the
Yep.
Climb album, and I didn't even change one word.
Wow.
I did add a bridge in, but the
Yeah.
verses and the chorus were literally word for word what he wrote, and I just added a bridge in, and it was just such a powerful song. It's just kind of like a breakup song, kind of about like just like how like when you love somebody so much and the guy's just he's just torn up. And I kind of made it at the end where it's almost like a prayer to God, like he's crying out to God in the bridge. I kind of tied it in that way.
Wow.
And then there's a song Carolina Breeze, which is we have an EP called Carolina Breeze, and I did change the words on that, but the chorus was just when I heard the chorus to it, I was just like, "There's nothing like that Carolina breeze." I was just like, "Okay, that's a song," and I just like it was just like instantly.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
was
yeah.
the motivation for. So Carolina Breeze is the EP that we put out. It looks like I got it right here. It looks
Yeah.
like this, and we recorded this and we recorded this at the same time, but the songs were so different. They were like Carolina Breeze is kind of like that folky country Appalachian kind of sound, and then the songs on Harvest Wind are like so like I don't know, they're deep. They're like dark, a little dark, and a little more like I don't know what the word is, but they were different than the songs. So we're like, well, let's just do two separate things. So we did the Carolina Breeze and we released that, and then we went back in the studio and finished the rest of the songs. And what happened in the meantime is our friend Chloe plays violin, and she started jamming with us a few years ago, just live. And she's just like she's young. She's just now 19, but she's grown so much in her playing. I mean, she played with Trans-Siberian Orchestra in the backup orchestra. She played with Alan Parsons, and she's like 19 years old. So, so she played on Harvest Wind. So you'll hear on Harvest Wind, there's a lot of violin stuff on there. So it's pretty cool. And she played with that. So that was something different about Harvest Wind that whole album just was like grew in the studio, like because I had never played mandolin before, and I got a mandolin because I wanted to hang one on my wall. You can see it back there in the corner, and I couldn't find an old beat up one like at a store, like a thrift store. So I just ordered one online, and then I'm like, well, heck, I might as well play it. I learned how to play it, and then I ended up playing it in the studio. And I don't know if you know. Do you guys know what a dulcimer is?
I think so.
It's kind of a bluegrassy kind of instrument.
Oh, okay.
And you lay it on your lap, and it has 4 strings, and you pluck it. You pluck it, and almost like a keyboard. And so Jamie played the dulcimer, and then I played the mandolin. So the sound of Harvest Wind is very eclectic. I'll say that much. It's very, very cool. So
when did you actually start playing like string instruments and like the guitar? You're an incredible guitarist, you know.
I have been playing guitar before I even got into metal. I started playing guitar my senior year in high school because, chicks, it's like, it's like, wait a minute, you mean I can play guitar and I can get all the chicks? So there was this kid that was a year ahead of me in high school, and he was just like a phenomenon. And he taught me how to play guitar. Now, I went to high school with, Trey from Morbid Angel and all these guys in Tampa. So music was really like moving and growing, back then. And so I just kind of transitioned into metal. I started playing just the acoustic guitar and I always wrote lyrics. And so I always wrote songs, just acoustic songs. And then I met, do you know who Mike Browning is?
I'm not familiar.
He was the original drummer for Morbid Angel. Now he has a band called not Incubus, something 80. Anyways, he's in a death metal band now. Okay. And so he was my neighbor, and I went to high school with him, and he was in Morbid Angel. So I used to go watch them practice. And I just like got into metal. Like I was like, I'd never heard anything so bizarre. Like, Morbid Angel was like deep metal. You know what I mean? And
I
was listening to the Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. I had never heard anything like that. And Mike Browning, he just kind of introduced me to like what back then it was called underground metal, but now I guess it's more just like, like old school metal and stuff like Raven and Destruction and Anvil and all those, Exciter and all those bands were first coming out. Slayer's first album and all that, Merciful Fate's first album. All these bands were just coming out. This is like 1983. And so I just got into metal that way. And then I just decided I want to be in a metal band. And I started auditioning for bands. And I met Richard Bateman. So Richard Bateman was our original bass player from Purgatory. He passed away right as we were recording the Purgatory thing. It's crazy. It's very sad. If you read the sleeve, there's a dedication to him on the sleeve.
Yeah.
And I have it hanging on my wall here. But so I auditioned for his band. He was in a band. So I go and I try out, and they're like, cool, come back next week. I come back next week, and there's Richard by himself. It was his house where they practiced at. I'm like, where's everybody at? He's going, we broke up. I'm like, what? What do you mean you broke up? He's like, yeah, we broke up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. And so I said, well, let's me and you start a band. And he's like, okay. So we started writing songs together, and then we met. We were out at this metal club here in Tampa, and we met John and the original drummer Greg, and we met them out at the bar, and we just started jamming together. And a friend of theirs knew somebody that played lead guitar, so that was Bill Owen. He came and jammed with us, and it was just like the chemistry was like instantaneous. Nice. And me and Richard had a bunch of songs already, and Bill and Greg and John had a bunch of songs already. So we had all these originals right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have to even write any songs; they were all written already. So we just started playing out like instantaneously, like just started playing gigs and sending out horrible demo tapes that are now like classics. It's like these things we recorded on a ghetto box are now are like classics.
So funny.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you too was like, so how far you live from Tampa now?
I'm about 25 miles outside of Tampa.
So the thing I wanted to know was if you're an Iced Earth fan, and the curious thing I want to, is there any of the places that like y'all guys like lived and rehearsed and like played live and stuff still there today?
Okay, so this is funny you asked that question. So when we did the Purgatory thing, John had an idea. Let's do like a documentary about it, and we'll go around to all the old places where we used to live and hang out and all that stuff, and we'll shoot some footage. And so they came, a couple guys from Germany came. They were going to Rock Hard Magazine, Holger Stratman from Rock Hard Magazine and all them. They're going to shoot this video, and they took all these photos. All the bars that we used to play at are all closed down now.
Wow.
And this one place was called the Sunset Club. It's a used car lot now. So it's like, and then all the other clubs are closed down. So it was like, we never did finish the documentary because it just wasn't working out the way we thought it was going to work out. And even the places we used to live in, they're so horrible now. Like they were bad when we lived there. Like it was the hood when we lived there, but now it's like, it's the hood. I'm talking about like, you don't even want to be in there. So we ended up just not doing it, but it was pretty cool. We did go down to Ybor City. There's a club called the Ritz Theater, and they have metal shows there and punk shows and stuff. And it was closed. It was during the day, but the cleaning crew was there. They wouldn't even let us in. We just wanted to go in and shoot some footage, and they wouldn't let us in. So we're like, the whole idea, just forget it. And we just never did it.
No, that's
not fun. You try to think about doing something really cool, and then it just can't. You can't execute it.
And like we had all these camera guys and stuff. It was like going to be a big thing, and then it never worked. So,
what was it like re-recording the Purgatory songs? Was that a lot of fun? Was that difficult? Like
it was amazing. It's just so cool. Like at first I was a little nervous because I hadn't sang metal. I've just been singing with Jacob Swell. I hadn't sang metal in years. Jon was just, he said, you could do this. You just got to practice. So I just started practicing and all the time. And then, man, it just worked out because I got hurt at work and I was out of work for like 8 weeks.
Wow.
And it was just the time where we were recording. So like I had all this time just to relax and chill and just go in and sing. And it just sounded so good to hear those songs the way we always imagined them. You know what I mean? When we were recording them back then, that's how we wanted them to sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that's how they sound. And it was just great. And, you know, Jim Morris and Jon, they were very supportive, and they pushed me enough to get the result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because in past, like when we did this Iced Earth first album, the budget was so tight. It was just like, and now it's all digital. So if you make a mistake, it's much easier to fix it. Back then, if you made a mistake, like you had to do the whole thing over again. You know what I mean? It was very hard to punch in and fix a mistake. So it was like, sing it, get it done. And it was like, we just wanted to get it done. So if you listen to the first album, there's no like doubling of the vocals or it's just me singing one track of vocals.
Yeah.
So now if you listen to the Purgatory thing, like most of the stuff I sang double tracks. I would sing it and then, sing it again, and they would match the tracks up. And I had never done that before. That was the hardest part, because you have to sing exactly the same. Like even your phrasing has to be, if you say a word the first time, you have to say that word exactly the same the second time.
Yeah.
And if you scream, you have to scream exactly the same. It can be like a millisecond difference. Just that's what gives it the thickness.
Yeah.
When you double and triple your vocals, that little variation gives it the thickness. But it can't be varied enough where it sounds like crap. So the thing I learned was, when you're in the studio and you're going to double your vocals, you got to be conscious of what you're saying and the way you're phrasing it.
Yes.
Instead of just like, here's how I'm going to sing this, and you sing it, to go back again and sing it the same way. So as you're singing, you start to be more conscious of what you're singing and how you're singing it, so you can go back and go over it. And we do a lot of double vocals and Jacob Swell too and stuff. So I learned a lot.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Well, I just want to say, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I just want to say, as a fan, man, that Purgatory EP, man, I love that record. It's just so well done. And just being a fan of like the horror genre myself, it just, man, I was like, when I heard that, I was like, that was awesome. And especially your take on Dracula.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'll tell you, my first experience with Iced Earth was Incorruptible, and then then I got all into Demons and Wizards and everything. I came in really late, so when a bunch of events happened, I ended up purchasing the Iced Earth original vinyl, and then the Jon Schaffer's Purgatory, and I put on the Purgatory album first, and I was like so super impressed. Like, all my other Iced Earth friends were like, they're like, well, this is great, but like you never heard this, and they're looking at me like, I'm like, no, I haven't. Honestly, I like your version of Jack better than I like the it's not like the other song Jack on the horror show album.
Right, it's a totally different. All those like
your version way better.
Well, thank you. Like that's so funny, because that song was written one night. We were up at my apartment, and John and Greg, and they were all over, and we were partying hard. I mean, and we were up all night long. And I used to always have an acoustic guitar, and I started playing that little intro at the beginning.
I love it.
And John is like, man, I really like that. And then he just wrote the head, get down, that part there. And the next day we had that whole song. I wrote the words like in an hour, and it was
nice.
So much fun. So much fun. I love that.
When we got back together in 2018 and we're in the studio, he's like, that song needs a chorus. It doesn't have a chorus, because if you listen to the original version, on the horror show original from way back, the cassette tape, there was no chorus. Entrancer, romancer,
Yeah.
that wasn't on there. We added that. He wanted a
Okay.
chorus because there was one riff that repeats itself like 100 times in that song. He's like, it's boring. We need that. Can you make a chorus over that riff? And we came up with that. And that was what really, to me, that's what made that song like take another level, was that chorus in there.
Absolutely love it.
Oh.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really magical. It was something magic about that whole event. Like it was destiny. It was meant to be. And it was special. And if we try to repeat it again, I don't know if we could repeat it again. It was at the right time, and it was magic.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. What was your like original inspiration like for starting Jacob's Well in general?
Well, I had all these original songs that I was writing all the time, and I would play them out at coffee shops and stuff like that. And I wanted to start a band. And this guy, Jamie, came to our church, and he was filling in on the bass. And then one day he was filling in on the drums. And I'm like, what does this guy like play every instrument? And so we got to know each other, and he put together this like songwriter showcase thing at our church. And I got up and I played some of my songs. He's like, wow, those songs are pretty good, man. We should like, jam together. And we just started jamming together. And then we started Jacob's Well. And then we added Xander, Xander's the guy that plays the washboard. He was a friend of my oldest son. They went to school together. And I saw a Facebook video of him playing washboard. And I was like, dude, we have to get that guy. So we got him, and now he's on board. And then now we have Chloe, who jams with us a lot. So it just kind of grew and just kept growing. And now we started playing out at a lot of places and building a following and stuff. And it just grew and grew. We've been jamming together for 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely the longest I've ever been in a band.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm gonna tell you. I mean, there's not a you have some artists that go out here and they'll put out like albums, and one album's great and one album, but y'all guys haven't yet put out an album that wasn't, or EP or whatever, that wasn't great.
Well, thank you.
It's just like I catch myself, going back, and I'm like, because some of those original songs y'all had, I actually played on the radio a few times when I had my show. Yeah, and people was like, "Wow, that's different." I was like, "Yeah." I said, but see, I've always tried to be, when it comes to music, when it comes to some stuff anyway, I've always tried to have a colored palette, just like listen to a lot of different stuff. Because I actually heard Marty Friedman one time from Megadeth say, he says, when I was in Megadeth, he says the problem with that band was, he says, their music is gunmetal gray. And he's like, I like to paint with reds and blues and black and whites and greens and yellows and stuff like that, So that was kind of the reason why he left Megadeth, was because it was like he wanted to broaden his horizons.
Sure.
That's what I like about Jacob's Well, is that we don't have like a set genre. If we want to write a rock song, we'll write a rock song. And like Lonely White Crow on the Harvest Wind albums, like progressive music, it's almost like a metal song. And
it is.
It's just, we don't confine it. We like to play. Jamie's influences are prog rock and prog metal, and my influences, of course, are metal and folk. So we just kind of like, he likes bluegrass, I like bluegrass. So it's just kind of like, it's just so many genres that we both like. So we're not afraid to take on any song. We play live. We play everything from Imagine Dragons to John Denver. So when you come see us, you don't know what you're going to hear. We do Led Zeppelin, and we do The Doors, and we do Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. We do all these songs, so we do Collective Soul. So we just love to play all kinds of music.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yep.
And really, the whole reason we started playing cover tunes was just for the exposure purpose. There's just nowhere to play originals. There was like 2 places to play originals. So we're like, well, we'll just play our originals and some cover tunes. So we play like 3 originals per set. When we go on tour, when we go to North Carolina, we'll play like 4 originals or 5 originals per set because they like original music more up there. So it really depends on the place we're playing, but and it's worked out because our music is getting out there and people are hearing our original music and we're getting paid for it. A lot of bands play for free, you know what I mean? They're like, and we get paid, and that's I can dig that. We sell our merchandise, and people buy our merchandise, and so it's good. So
that's excellent. I heard that your son is in a metalcore band.
Yeah, so it's called Novely is the name of the band. I'm gonna unplug my phone and I'm gonna walk over here.
Yeah, we'd love to give you like
all right, so let's see if I can turn it around. That's his band right there. So it's called Novely. That's his album. They just released their first album.
Excellent.
And they did it on vinyl. They did CDs first, and then they did vinyl. So a record company in California told them they would make 300 vinyl copies, and they would split the money with them. And before they even got them back from the company, they were already sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, their CD sold out like before it was even everything they do. They're just blowing up. It's just crazy. So the name of the band is Novely. So it's kind of like novelty, but without the novelty. It's Novely. Yeah. And they have an EP and an album out, and they tour a lot. They just got back from like a little mini tour. They went up to Charlotte, or not Charlotte. They went up to Savannah, Georgia. They played Miami. They played Orlando. They've been up to Connecticut and up in the Midwest. They just, whenever they they'll find a band that's touring and they'll get on the tour with them and they'll just go up there and play.
Wow.
They've been really blowing up. So
excellent.
Congrats to them then.
Yeah. And it's screamo. I mean, but the music it's almost like jazz. Some of the music, it's very like progressive jazz sounding, and then it breaks into like the heavy distortion parts. But it's very cool music. Like I could sit and listen to it all the time. My son, he's really writes all the lyrics and like all the artwork for the album that I showed you guys. He did all that artwork. He does all the art. He's always been an artist. He does our album covers, all our album covers he's done. So
nice.
That's
pretty cool kid.
I don't know if I got to tell you, told you not, Gene, but this booklet y'all did for Harvest Wind, I love that. I love how y'all done that. That was so neat. It's just kind of like an old school, almost like, kind of reminds me of like the old parchment kind of like thing,
That's what I wanted. That's the idea that I wanted. With the leafing around the edge of the paper, my son helped me. I would have never been able to do that myself. He helped me do that.
The people who bought that, which I will get around to getting it. The people who purchased that, like they were so happy with that package. They really, really loved it.
So my bandmate Jamie, he wrote he listened to the album and like the story was always kind of about like Christ coming back to judge the world. Kind of that's how I saw it. But Jamie saw it like this whole other way, and he wrote this story about this guy that like was away from his family and the people that he loved, and he comes back and everything is different. Everything is destroyed, and this vineyard that he planted, that him and his family planted, has been destroyed, and he's just like heartbroken, and like it's just his whole story. And then at the end, like I don't want to give away the story, but if you buy the CD, the story that he wrote, I read the whole thing and I was crying. It's like the ending is like, it's like, wow, I never thought of it this way. There's a song, the last song on the album is Forever Home. And when Jamie played it for me, it's kind of about North Carolina, but then I'm like, no, it's about heaven. It's about going to heaven. It's like, and that's, so the whole album just took this form on that we never expected. It was
Yeah.
just like, just with the violin and it's just so cool. It's different than a lot of stuff that we've ever done. It's a lot
Yeah.
different. And we played, like, on some of the albums, we've had like guest musicians, like our friend Frank. He's like he repairs guitars and builds guitars, so he does all our guitar work. But he's like this phenomenal, like, it's sick how good this guy is on guitar. So he'll come in the studio with us and do like all the leads and stuff on our usually, but on this we did everything. You know, he played on one song. He did a little slide part on one song, In Bed with Jezebel. But everything else, we just did all the electric guitar and everything ourselves, mandolin, everything. It's the first time we've done everything.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I was going to tell you, like, when y'all redone that version of The Weary Traveler, the one on this one, it just gives it a whole different, like, almost a whole different feel and kind of a vibe, and, you know, and all that stuff. And it's just, it was so cool. Like, the way that album was put together, and whether it was meant to be, or like it was meant to or not, or whatever, sometimes, you know, you find lightning in a bottle sometimes, you know, and it's just, I don't know. It's just like, you listen to that album and it brings a range of emotions, and it's just like, wow. And it's just, I don't know, you know, it's weird because like sometimes I'll get in these really weird head spaces, kind of like sometimes with myself, and so that album kind of speaks to me in when I'm in that headspace or whatever, and it's really cool, and
Thank you.
I really love it. And like I said, when I first heard it, when you told me, you know, y'all had put it out and everything, and I told you myself, I said, like, some of those songs, man, almost sound like they could be rock songs, you know, because
There's
a
couple songs on there that we almost were like, we should make this a metal song.
Yeah, you know.
But you know, it's cool, and like, we're not scared. You know, if that happens one day, it might happen. You know what I mean? I'm not ruling that out, that we may never make a metal song. That could possibly, like, even on The Climb, there's a couple songs on there. Like, there's a song on The Climb. It's In a Distant Sunset.
Yep.
It's kind of about my parents when they passed away and stuff. But our friend Cody Hanlon that we recorded with, he's like a metal guitar player, and he played guitar on a lot of the stuff on that album. So there's some really metal sounding stuff on that album. In a Distant Sunset is definitely, when that electric guitar kicks in, it's definitely like borderline metal for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
So that was fun to make The Climb. Every album, me and Jamie just see eye to eye on everything. We just really are open to suggestions. Like, that's one thing. Like when we get in the studio, like, the songs kind of write themselves. Like, what if we did this? What if we use this instrument? What if we put this here? You know what I mean? And before you know it, then we go like, how are we going to do this live? Like, it's just two of us. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, but in the studio, man, it's just so much fun just to experiment and really watch the songs grow into something, because most of them are usually just written on the acoustic guitar, and then, you know, they're become songs.
Yeah.
I heard you did a track with Luke Appleton too.
I did. Slay the Hydra.
How was it working with Luke? Was that like an online virtual type thing, or?
Yes, I've met him before, because on the Incorruptible tour, we went to Atlanta. Me and Bill went to Atlanta, and we went backstage and hung out with those guys. And so I met Luke, and he said, I want you to sing on one of my albums. I'm like, I thought he was just kidding or whatever. And then when he did his acoustic album, he got in touch with me, and he's like, hey, I want you to sing on this song. I'm going to send you the tracks. And then I went to Morrisound and just recorded the vocals.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Yeah. So it's on his acoustic album. I can't remember the name of the album.
It's called Snake Eyes?
Yes. Yeah. It almost looks like an Iron Maiden cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song is on there, and it sounds great. He's a great singer. I mean, in his own way. he's gotten, so I've watched him over the years, following on on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and his singing has gotten so much better over the years. It's like amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree. My bass player takes lessons from him and learns all the Iced Earth songs.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah, because we have the Iced Earth tribute band, so like Luke gives him all the tabs and stuff and helps out. It's great.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's see. And how did Unearthed come about?
Oh, that's funny.
So
one day, it was 2006. This is right before that leads up to me becoming a Christian, all that stuff. But before all that, my kids were little. My kids were they were born in 2000 and 2001, so they were like 5 or 6 years old. So one day I just thought to myself, it would be cool to reach out to Dave Abell and see what he's doing. So somehow I forget, he called me like out of the blue. I'm like, dude, I was just thinking about getting in touch with you. And then he called me. It was like telepathy or something. And I would just go out to his house. He lived far from me. He lived like 45 minutes to an hour away from me. But I would go over there and we would just start messing around with writing some songs. And it really started to turn into something. And then we decided to let's get the band back together. And so we got Bill Owen to come play lead with us and Richard Bateman to play bass. And Greg Seymour, the original drummer, he lives in Indiana. And so we couldn't get him. So we got another drummer, but it was us 4 original members. And it was really cool. And we went in the studio and did like a 2-song thing with just me and Dave. And then Bill came along and Richard and all them. And they did a full album, but it was after I had already left the band. It was more of like a kind of death metal sounding album. But so it was cool though. I mean, it was fun having everybody back together. And where we practiced at was where Purgatory started. So Richard Bateman at his house, he had this like garage kind of thing in the backyard, like a barn kind of thing. And that's where we used to practice in Purgatory. But over the years, it had like fallen into disrepair. So me and Bill and all us guys, we fixed it all up and got it all. And that's where Unearthed started practicing again, where Purgatory was born. And we did a lot of old Purgatory songs. We did Lobotomy. We did Survivors of the Flame. We did a lot of the old Purgatory stuff. And we had new music that we wrote as Unearthed. And then we also did, when we played live, we did the song Iced Earth. We played that. That was like our finale song.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. It was fun. And then, but it was too hard on everybody. Dave's kids were young. My kids were young. Our wives were like, what do you mean you're going on tour? Use me? It was not like a good time to be off leaving your wife at home with her 2 kids. It did not go well. But it's over now, and I still stay in touch with all those guys. We're still best buds. We're still buds. I talk to Dave all the time. He still sends me songs all the time, wants me to sing on them and stuff. So, there may be a song or 2 down the road with me singing on it. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh yeah.
I have like 2 more questions. Do you have any more, Bill?
I don't know. Just go ahead.
Go ahead. Yep. Okay. So my other question, I was like, how did you and your family hold up during the hurricanes?
Our neighborhood actually wasn't damaged by the hurricane, but like the next day, there's a river that's close to our house, and it was over flood stage. So all the gutters in the street, the storm drains, just water started coming into all the neighborhoods around our house. And the streets were just like, in front of our house was probably 4 or 5 foot deep in the street.
Wow.
And it never came in our house, but some houses in the back of our neighborhood that are lower, it did get in some of those houses. But we were lucky and blessed not to have any damage, but there was a lot of damage here.
Wow.
lot of our friends that live near the water. I mean, I'm talking about whole subdivisions, whole neighborhoods just gutted. Like
Wow.
you drive down the road, and every driveway there's debris stacked out to the road, from the house to the road. Every house, they had to gut every house.
Wow.
Whole neighborhoods like that everywhere. It
Right.
wasn't as much wind as it was flooding damage, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. Right behind my house, literally today. I mean, it's different. It's not a hurricane, but like some type of sink. I think it was like this morning, like kind of late last night, some type of sinkhole opened up, and
Oh
like
my gosh.
there's like a water main break. But like I don't know if my house hasn't. There's nothing going on with my house, but it's directly behind my house. And it's a lot of like the businesses back there, because there's like a businesses behind my home, and it's like I was like shocked. I didn't even I saw something going on, and I was getting a manicure, and I looked on the TV. I go, "That's behind my house." Really?
Hey, I'm on the news.
Yeah.
So I feel for it, but we live by the river too, and there's there could be flooding can be immense sometimes. Luckily, it never hits my house, but so thank God. But I'm glad that you guys were okay, and sounds like you definitely are blessed.
Yeah, and it's just weird, like the whole culture of like what gets more attention. You know what I mean? I guess the wildfires in California are much more dramatic because it's fire. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff that's burned up. But the people, if you drove, I could take you down and you'd be in shock of the houses that are still gutted. Like people are still waiting for the contractors to come, because now all the contractors are tied up. So there's still people here that are like, and in North Carolina and stuff, without homes. But
That's so terrible.
It's just not as dramatic, and not as like a fire is much more like, like it's much more newsworthy. It looks better on the news when there's a fire.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I do feel bad. I'm not liking what happened in California.
No, I'm not either. But it's
I'm just saying, there's horrible stuff has happened, and it's been a rough. 2024 is a rough year. I'm just glad we're on to the new better thing. So.
Yeah, me too. I had some friends that were in a rough position in North Carolina too, and so I was curious. I mean, to what happened with you guys and everything.
Yeah, we're okay. So thank you for asking them.
Thank goodness. And
I always check on you, make sure you're doing all right.
Yeah. And the last question really just like goes back to the Jacob's Well. Like where can we get the merchandise? I believe it's Etsy, right?
There's I don't have the link with me, but if you go on our Facebook page, there's a link to our CDs are available through PayPal. So it's Jacob's Well merch 7 or Jacob's Well merch at gmail.com.
Okay.
But our shirts and hoodies and cups and all that stuff, you go to the Etsy page. Just go on Etsy and look up Jacob's Well t-shirts, and it should pop up if you just search on Etsy.
I have your PayPal because I did purchase the 3 Mountain Air CDs a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
But okay, we'll definitely link that up and everything. And do you have any like future plans with Jacob's Well? Like, are you going to tour again soon, or?
Yes, we're not doing a summer tour this time.
Okay.
Because Jamie's going to be up there with his family, but we are going back up to North Carolina in October. But we do have some new material that we're probably going to do an album next year. We kind of have a working title already. So that's kind of cool. It's going to be called The Things That Time Can't Erase.
Oh,
nice. That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah, it comes from a song. I wrote this song for my kids. My boys are not kids, they're men now. But just like there's certain things like you pass on that time can't ever erase. You know what I mean? Like your faith and different things like that, that you pass on, because like when my father died, like I have this, like when we play out live, I have this banjo and I have and these things, like they're just things but it's not those things. It's the memories that I have of, those things that time can never erase. So that's where the song, so that probably be, I don't know when we'll start working on it, but probably in this year, in 2025, probably the end of the year or something.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait. So
same, and you might see us eventually on one of your tours because Dave Myers definitely wants to come down and check it out. We might make a trip out of it and visit some friends, and you might see us.
Okay, and I'm going to send you out one of these.
Thank you.
Do me a favor, message me on Facebook your address again,
okay.
and I'll send you out one of these.
Thank you so much.
I'll send you out the booklet too. I got a booklet here and all the whole thing.
That's so nice of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was fun.
Oh yeah, well, thank you, man. I know sometimes, time is. We all have that. We all like just so busy and everything, but we always appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, brother. Well, thank you. And like I said, this has been so fun, and it's always good to talk to Gene because Gene's just such a great guy. And so go to Jacob's Well merch at PayPal, grab your CD, go to Etsy, get you a hoodie or T-shirt, coffee cup, whatever. Support the band. They're great music, great people, and that's all I have to say.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It's Jacob's Well 727. That's the area code here, 727. So it's Jacob's Well 727. That's on Facebook and Instagram. So
perfect.
And we always put all our tour dates, and we post a lot. Whenever we play out live, we usually, not every time, but we'll do a lot of live streams. And then sometimes we do live streams from the studio here at my house and different stuff like that. So
oh yeah. Yep.
So we always post those up on Facebook. So
yep. I try to catch as many of them as I can, but
yeah. The good thing is they're always up there, so you can always go back.
Oh yeah. Yep.
We used to do it on Instagram, but they just like go away, and it's like hey. So now we just started doing them on Facebook because at least they're always there.
Yep.
Yep. Well, have a great night, guys. And
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We appreciate it. All right, night.